Well, 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 well. We are live on this Monday at about 5:05, mostly PM. Thank you very much for being here. I know it's not the best time to go live on a Monday where everyone's sort of finishing work at 5 o'clock and on their way home, but I have some things I'm doing tonight. I'm on another podcast, and then we're doing our Jack and Joe show as well. In fact, I'm receiving a phone call that I need to take. I'm receiving a phone call I need to take. Give me 1 second. I'll mute myself. Apologies. No, that was not Tony Khan calling. It was, but it was of some interest, I suppose. So yeah, I'm on a podcast later. I'm doing Jack and Joe later as well. So I thought I'd jump on a live. I can definitely sense some tension in the fan base. It's obviously not the first time I've experienced that this summer, or anyone's experienced that this summer. But I do feel as though the Kiernan Dewsbury Hall news about Everton, some Rodrigo Muniz stuff about Atalanta, which we saw last week as well. But yeah, I did just take a phone call that that I suppose I need more clarity on before I can start talking about it, I suppose. But I basically said, look, I'm live right now. People can see me on the phone. My mic is muted. And said person said, go and do your live and we'll talk a bit later. So hopefully tomorrow or next day that could accumulate in something, me putting something out there. How exciting. How exciting. Welcome along. Yeah, like I said, not the best time to go live, but there's just stuff we need to talk about. And I see the title of this stream. I said something like big week ahead for Fulham, because it is a big week ahead for Fulham. And I say that every bloody Monday. And it doesn't seem like when I say that anything sort of necessarily happens, but this is a massive week. This is the week before the week before. And what I mean by that is the week before the season. On Saturday, we're going to be at the Sausage watching England, Fulham versus Frankfurt, where my brother's currently in Frankfurt. I wonder if we get the lowdown on their team. And then we're going to go to Brighton. And then we're going to go to Brighton. So I am... I'm looking forward to it. Of course I am. I'm really excited for the new season, for everything that I get to do, and all the fans are back, and it's just going to be fantastic. But yeah, it was a great week in Portugal, but nothing really progressed in Portugal. Nothing got to a stage where, we had a player coming in for a medical, or we have no one's sort of close to joining. There's some bits and bobs about Reece Nelson, and but the thing is about the Reece Nelson thing is, before he went to Asia with Arsenal, there was rumors that he wasn't going to go because it was close, and I was like, And then he was like, okay, he's going. And I was like, okay, well then let's sort that out while he's there. And they're already back, and nothing's happened since. Nothing really has happened since in terms of progress. The report. Okay, let's go through some of the comments. I'm seeing some of the comments. What's happening with Nelson? Like I just said, like genuinely, like I Carney Chukwuemeka's going to Dortmund. Just couldn't care less. Yeah, like nothing seems to have changed with the Nelson situation. Lack of anything Fulham related really grinding on me now. Absolutely, Lewis. I can understand that. Jack the man, thank you. Cottage Talk reposted the stream. Thank you, Russ. Hopefully getting some breaking news over the phone. Yeah, that was an unfortunate timing, to be fair. And I, if that person had called, say 2 minutes later, or 2 minutes earlier, I would have obviously delayed the start of the stream. I didn't really know what to do. I didn't want to end it and then restart it, but I obviously muted my mic. So hopefully no one heard what was going on. Anticipation. Look at Jack Romano. Yeah, I'm constantly taking phone calls, mate. On the blower, getting the lowdown, maybe, but not. I don't know. We'll see in the next few days. That's 100% Mitrovic news. I can confirm it was not Mitrovic. Any hints to what you just heard? I heard that we're playing Frankfurt on Saturday. Nelson is basically done, by the way. I hope so. I mean, people keep saying that. Someone just asked, actually, do we have a press conference before Frankfurt? We don't, but we have one after. So opportunity to speak to Marco Silva for the first time since I haven't spoken to him since post City. Shouted you out on the podcast. I do as a Fulham correspondent, Planet FPL. It's out tomorrow if you want to listen to it. Thank you very much, Lewis. Send me the link and I will give it a listen. I have so many podcasts to catch up on. Football cliches, not the top 20. I am overwhelmed. Not to mention all the other. I listened to today. I listened to Gary Neville meeting Daniel Levy. I thought that was very, very interesting. Obviously, an interesting topic of discussion. Are the reports about Mitrovic true? If he's offered to the Premier League, I'm sure Fulham will be in and around negotiations or involved somehow. But I don't really see us being front runners in that situation because I genuinely think, as much as I would love Mitrovic back and it would be fun to do that sort of like, like imagine he's coming back, the damage that would do to the Muniz situation is just not worth it, in my current opinion. Lastminute.com yet again. What is taking so long? Warn anything. I'm wearing this t-shirt, if that helps. Caleb is back. We had first dibs on Kieran Dewsbury-Hall. Why do you think we didn't pursue that deal? And that's essentially why I'm sort of going live today. Not necessarily because Everton are signing Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, but I think it's a topic of conversation. I don't think that we wanted to pay anywhere near what Chelsea were telling us to pay. And it makes sense because he's in West London and whatever. He just has to move 3 miles down the road to the Craven Cottage. Yeah, but £30 million on a player who is going to stifle Josh King's, potential and progression. I'm absolutely fine with it. I was excited by the prospect of it. And I actually genuinely think midfield's our strongest position right now in terms of numbers. And that is genuinely me being like, Josh King is like a new signing. He actually is. He's like a new signing. And the performance he put in against Al Ittihad was absolutely phenomenal. Good afternoon from Lakeland, Florida. And we also have Jimbo James coming in from Singapore. Give us some breaking news. Breaking news is that Crystal Palace are in the Conference League and not the Europa League. That is breaking news, Jimbo. Hope you're well, mate. Missing you already. Muniz deal or no deal? I mean, I love it when people put comments like this as if with no context. I obviously know what you mean, but just try to have some fun with it sometimes. Muniz deal ? Look, we will see what happens with Rodrigo Muniz. Atalanta are interested, Leeds are interested, Fulham don't want to sell. So I'm sure every player has its price. I don't necessarily think that any club will go up to that. Not even Newcastle, who are now looking at different options as well. Could you briefly explain the PSR situation? Can you explain the PSR issues? I mean, I don't... This makes me sound bad because I'm a journo, but the PSR situation from Fulham's end, I really don't know what the clarity. There was an article that I saw someone post the other day, and but no one really necessarily knows the situation, right? They can speculate, and they can they can read articles and read things from the likes of Kieran Maguire or Swiss Ramble, etc., like really, really, really like good top financial people within the game. But in terms of the Fulham situation, the club situation, nobody will know what's going on apart from the board. Okay, and that's not me trying to like end this conversation, because I think it's definitely worth sort of talking about, but nobody really knows what's going on in terms of the financials. Joe Sansom, and I glaze him every day because he's a good friend of mine, but he made a very, very good point. People are saying, oh, Fulham don't have any money to spend. It seems as if, we're going for loans and options and loans with options. That means do Fulham have no money to spend? But we've already put in a 16 million bid for Romulo. So we obviously have money to spend. I just don't know whether I just don't know how much money we're willing to put on the table for players, or how long we're waiting to try and go in for those deals. What position do you think we need to spend the most on our budget on? Wide options for me, definitely wide options. Don't we need a 6 to replace Harrison Reed rather than another 8? Well, yeah, but Harrison Reed is still here at this moment in time. So, if Harrison Reed goes, then obviously that's a conversation to be had. Look, I think a number 6 is imperative to compete with Sander Berger, to give him a little bit more license to go forward, to give Sasha Lukic obviously that license to go forward, and then Josh King and Tom Kearney, and then we've got Smith Rowe and Pereira. So a 6, I think, is imperative, but only if Harrison Reed leaves, because otherwise we have 2 options there, and I don't see why we would. I can see why we would try and get in a 6 to compete, like I just said. But if, from the board's point of view, if they've got Harrison Reed still on the books, I don't necessarily think there's going to be a reason why to go in for another 6 until. And I'm not saying we need to sell to buy, but I just think that in terms of numbers, we're going to be genuinely, we're going to be crowded out. We're going to be crowded out, and I don't want that to necessarily happen. I think Reed's obviously is still a good option, and we'll see over the coming days and weeks if he's on his way out. But at the moment, doesn't seem that way. If Muniz goes, we riot. I dread to see the reaction if Muniz leaves. I don't necessarily think it will happen though. I was just told we can max spend 30 million. Who told you that? I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. Hello so we've got someone watching from, was it Florida, Singapore, and now Hong Kong. Justin, thank you so much for tuning in. We all know we will sign 3 to 5 players on deadline day in true Fulham fashion. That was, I tell you what, deadline day 2018, before the season even started, was how do you make a comment on Patreon? It's on Patreon on the app. The stream will be live there, and then you can comment. Oh, actually, no, if you just comment on the post, I'll see it on my phone because the notification will come through, so I can address the comment there. Do you just comment? There's none showing, and there's been loads. Oh, right. Well, then I need to check. Let me go on Patreon as well and check out the comments, because they are, of course, my subscribers. I mean, there hasn't been loads. I think there's been one. And the question I'd already answered. Yeah, to the person asking that question, there's only been one comment via Patreon. I think those who are watching via Patreon can comment on YouTube because it's a YouTube stream. But yeah, let's get back to the questions. Do you think that the Khans paying off £75 million in debt a few weeks ago is impacting our window, hence the loans? I'm not necessarily sure. I'm not necessarily sure about that. Maths is not my strong point. And business is part of my university course, was sports business, but it's still not my strong point. I try my best to understand it, which is why I like to get people like Kieran Maguire on. Fulhamish we got on last season, was it the season before? I just saw a comment from said person, but it's now disappeared. I saw like Matt O'Reilly, Pablo Mai. Can you just send me the message? I can just read it out. Anything in the Arabi stuff from Sweden? Yes. I believe there's interest, but that is interest in one striker. I've been informed that there is interest there in that striker. Marco Silva's interested in him. The board, I don't know, maybe not so much. That's why I haven't really gone with it for a tweet as of yet. It's early stages, and it's one striker that we're a very long list of strikers we're interested in. So exciting. He looks like an exciting player, but the Swedish season's still going on as well. So that's going to make it a difficult situation. Oh, here we go. Matt O'Reilly, Pablo Mai, Antonio Nusa, Francisco Chincao, or Riot. That sounds like a fun window. Mate, I would love Matt O'Reilly back. Matt O'Reilly back. Have you heard anything on the Emil Smith Rowe playing off the left and King in the 10 in a lot of the preseason games? Is that Fulham's answer to our winger situation? See, this is probably going to be, Harry Lee, my first question to Marco Silva, apart from how are you, it will be, Smith Rowe's playing off the left, and we've got, we basically haven't replaced Willian, so we're having to. Is that essentially why you're playing Smith Rowe there? Because you haven't replaced Willian, or Willian hasn't been replaced, therefore we don't have another left-sided player with Iwobi. So Iwobi plays 45 minutes in one game, and Smith Rowe plays the other 45 minutes. Is it essentially, and it's one of my least favorite sayings in football, is it a message to the board? And I'm sure plenty of people enjoy that. Feed me a bomber immediately. Joe Sansom, I really hope by the time we film, I can't remember what time we said we were going to film. Let me just charge my, okay, that's not it. Let's charge my laptop. I really hope we have a bomber by the time we record, because it's going to be a pretty sorry Jack and Joe show at this moment in time, because there genuinely is nothing to talk about from last week. I think last week we spoke about Raheem Sterling. That's all gone quiet. Chukwueze is probably the latest rumor. That seems like there's interest as well. A lot of viewers today for 5:20 on a Monday. Lots of people, 750 people have at least tuned in. Don't know if people are watching live, but plenty of comments are coming in, and this is good. Usually I just sort of put a stream out and sometimes just chat, but this summer a lot of the comments are feeding the conversation, and I'm sure people have got questions. There's a lot of anxiety in the fan base, a lot of frustration for sure, and this is why I said at the beginning, this is why I went live today, because I could feel it. And even from, I want to be careful what I say here, but very respected people that I respect in terms of Fulham accounts on this app, who don't usually tweet that often. Once they start tweeting, I'm like, trouble brewing. Obviously I respect everyone, but the accounts I've been following since I joined Twitter all the way back in 2014, so almost 11 years ago, when those guys start tweeting, I sit up and listen. And when Joe Sansom starts tweeting, I sit up and listen. As I said last week, Luke Kelly, one of my brothers, who's just sat in the other room over there, he has Joe Sansom tweet notifications turned on, because when Joe Sansom speaks, we all listen. The voice of reason when it comes to Fulham FC. I felt like Fulham would have pushed on after signing Benjamin Lecomte, but it seems like Fulham are trying to line up all the deals at once. Always seems to do more business when the Khans are in London, like Emil Smith Rowe and Anderson. Is correct. I think it was 2 summers ago. Yeah, 2 summers ago, I think Tony Khan and Shahid Khan had crunch talks with Marco Silva. And within 24 hours of those crunch talks, we were linked with Salisu and Calvin Bassey. We ended up signing Calvin Bassey. Last summer, as you said, Jack, Khans are in town, and then we go and sign Anderson. We were close to signing Anderson, so yeah. Rishav, hope you're well, mate. I'm sorry I couldn't catch you in Portugal. It wasn't quite the right timings for both of us. How about that Tolu Orokadere rumor from Germany? Sounds like the perfect solution to capitalizing on all those crosses we've put in. Is that the guy from Ghent? I can't quite remember, but I haven't seen that name for at least a while. But yeah, hope you're well, mate, and be good to catch up soon for sure. Tuning in from Delray Beach, Florida. See, this is a good time to go live for all the Americans across the pond, because I think over there it's like midday-ish, so good time to have your lunch and watch a bit of a live stream. Feeling increasingly frustrated by the lack of transfer action. Will this be Marco's last season? If someone put a gun to my head and said, is this going to be Marco's last season, I'm going to have to say yes, only because he's out of contract in the summer. But like I've said practically all summer, there is no viable reason right now why Marco Silva would sign a new contract with the club. The club have given him no proof, no evidence that that they're thinking long term, and that they're going to sign that Marco Silva's got a project to sign on for. The only things I can say that maybe point to the direction of a long termism in terms of project is Luke de Foucault, Seth Ridgen, and Josh King, which is incredibly exciting. And actually, I said a few weeks ago on Jack and Joe that the business we've done, the individual bits of business we've done in this window have been very, very good. I still stand by that. But now we're heading to, we're in early August and we haven't signed anyone apart from Benjamin Lecomte. The business so far has been good from what we've done, but not been enough. And I think that might be that might just be a given. Jack, it's now time to drop what you're sitting on. Who cares if it ends up not happening? It can't get more disappointing than it is now anyway. What I was sitting on, things have changed in that department. So I can't sit here and say it because it would be 1, untrue, 2, false information. And the last thing I want to do is spread misinformation about the club that I love, the club that you guys love. I don't think that's fair on anyone. So look, things changed in the market. I was sitting on something quite exciting, or I thought I was at least. And I feel a bit bad for sort of stringing some people along about that. And that was not my intention. It was just getting that green light to go, and that green light's now turned to amber. So we'll see. We will see. I was going to say something actually. I can't remember now. Oh well. Yeah, tough one. That was a tough one. You are a popular guy, mate. Oh, thank you very much. We want to improve our squad. We just want to improve our squad. Oh, absolutely. I can understand that. Would love to see us go for Trossard. I know he's been linked with Brentford. He can't be going to that bus stop. Yeah. Well, I think Brentford, even with Trossard, would go down. I think right now they're not bookies' favourites, but I genuinely, I don't fear for them, obviously. But if Visser goes, they're in Michael Tremblay. Anything new or exciting since the last live stream? Katsu curry for dinner. My dad's making katsu curry. Incredibly exciting. What else? It's my birthday in a week. That's not even that exciting. That's just a year closer to the inevitable. So, not really, mate. Not really. Can we get a flight tracker on Khan's private jet? I don't even know if is he on his way to London. I don't even know. I don't even know. Okay. I can't believe Polinia is going. Oh, that was what I was going to say, actually. Thank you for reminding me. 24K Will. I can't believe Polinia is going to be crunching tackles on Kearney now. I think he'll go easy on Kearney. I think he'll go easy on all the Fulham players because he's got such a soft spot for us. When did we play? We play Spurs in like November, and then I want to say like March, maybe at home, or I don't know. The Polinia stuff. Now, I was told that Fulham still hold an interest. You could say I could tweet that Fulham hold an interest in Kylian Mbappe, and it probably would be true because we probably are interested in the player. It was probably not true because it's not a realistic signing, but the point being, we did have an interest in Paulinho. There was definitely interest to bring him back, but the situation is this: you're competing with a side who are not playing Champions League football versus a side who is playing Champions League football, and you could put all the sentimental side of things aside. Essentially, Paulinho needs to be in that Portugal squad for his last ever World Cup, in my opinion, and he's going to be more. He's going to have a better chance of playing at the World Cup with Portugal if he's playing in a team that's playing Champions League football and a team that's considered top 6. Am I sad about Polinia? Not really, because I think I like where our midfield is at. Do I think Polinia improves our midfield and improves our team? Absolutely. But the thing is, you can't compete with teams in the Champions League. And he's in London, and we're in London, but it's just one of them ones. The worst part about it is he's playing under Thomas Frank. If someone had told me 2 years ago that Polinia was going to be playing under Thomas Frank, my head would be somewhere else, not here. Do you think the lack of sellable assets and significant profit is affecting our ability to spend? I think essentially, I don't know. And this is the thing, for the last couple of years, we've sold sellable assets for high prices, sort of, Polinia, Sansfield, Mitrovic. That money is to be reinvested in the squad. And I don't think we've spent all of that money. It's clear we haven't spent all that money. If we were to sell a sellable asset like a Bassi Robinson or Muniz to boost funds, it would help us, I'm sure. I don't think we're in a situation right now where we need those sales. We need a big sale to then go and spend. I personally don't think that's the case. I do think that there's money to spend. I just don't know the strategy. I don't know how much there is, and I don't know. You know what? The financials is just a situation I'm just not clued up on at all. In the sense that I know we're in we're not in any trouble or anything like that. I know that that's fine. But in terms of, as I said earlier on, like the only people who know how much we've got to spend and how much we can spend are those who deal with the transfers, and no one really knows anything in terms of, they can speculate all they want about, well, if we're doing these sort of deals, then maybe we've got this much to spend. No one actually knows. Who knows? And this is not me. This is just me, pure speculation. Who knows? Tomorrow we could put in a £40 million bid for a player, for a winger, and then everyone's like, "Well, where's that come from?" And I'd be like, "Well, actually, that makes sense because we've got, we've made these sales and these sales." I don't think it's as simple as just saying, well, we can't spend unless we sell. I just don't think that's the case. Oh goodness, 1 second, crikey. I can't expect it in England anytime soon. I just don't know. I'm guessing in autumn because they're playing at Wembley, the Jaguars. Tony has an AEW event. Oh, on 24th of August in London. Probably expect more business then. That's literally right at the end of the window. What is actually happening? Do we have any money to spend? As I just said, I don't have a Scooby-Doo. Any outgoings? Not at the moment, mate. Not at the moment. Signing Chukwueze would be nice, but it leaves us short during the AFCON. Yeah, it's another issue of signing Chukwueze. We'd be losing 3 players, 2 wingers and a centre-back. That's why I think Reece Nelson's imperative to come in, Harry Wilson to cover that space, Ryan Sessegnon and Adama Traore. The Traore stuff to Nottingham Forest has gone fairly quiet. I don't necessarily think we're going to sell. I think necessarily what's happened there is there's been interest. They've gone, well, we'll pay this much, and we'll go, and we've gone, no, we want this much, and they go, actually, don't worry about it then. So I'm not too wary of that at the moment. Isaac agrees deal with Fulham FC per Ornstein. No, I haven't seen that. Brentford going down, that would be brilliant. It would be. This is me being very cynical, but do you think there's any part of the Khans are willing to spend due to the spending we did last summer at Smith Rowe, Anderson and Berg? It's not translating into Europe. No, I don't think that's the case. I think that you would be encouraged by the season that we had last season, that we were so close to Europe, that we think if we just spend a little bit more, we can then push into Europe. I don't think it's a case of, well, you didn't get Europe there, therefore we're not going to give. If anything, it'd be like, well, you were so close last time, let's give you an extra, whatever million, and then we can try and push on. But I understand people's skepticism. I understand all literally the last 2-3 days I've been looking at Twitter, sort of not commenting, just sort of looking, and people are losing their minds. And to be fair, it's getting to the point where it's understandable. It's understandable. We just don't know what's going on, and this is why I really would like to speak with Marcus Silva on Saturday, whether it be Saturday or whether it be before that or after that, and be like, do you have any idea of how much you can spend or what? And I know the game. Like, he's not going to come out and say, yeah, we've got £42 million to spend and 354k on wages. That's our budget. He's not going to come out and say that, is he? He's going to probably say, well, I'd imagine he would say something along the lines of, we have, there are deals to be done and we just got to go and do them. I really do want to speak to him. I really want to see what's going on, but and I'm sure everyone else does. Also, other sides around us in the table being weakened. Yeah, and then obviously Everton signing Keenan Dewsbury Hall. They signed Tyler Dibbling. Moyes literally said it 2 days ago or last night. He said he wants 2 players in by Saturday when they play their friendly at their new stadium. And he looks like he might get those 2 signings. So interesting that Fulham posted all season tickets sold or no more interest. Well, that is an interesting point. It's the wages for Polina, really, isn't it? I think he was on like 100k. Yeah, and like usually in negotiations with loan deals, sometimes the parent club covers some of the wages and the team who's taking covers most of them. And then sometimes it's the other way around, where the team taking them takes all the wages. So yeah, it's tricky. It's very tricky. How much progress do you believe? Yeah, the new PSR rules affecting transfer progress. It could be a factor. I mean, it really could. I've been speaking about this now for a couple of times on this stream, and I really just don't have a grasp on what's going on in terms of the financials. There are some people doing their research and finding articles that might explain things. It doesn't necessarily mean that is black and white what's going on. But I suppose those sort of things do help in terms of trying to give some clarity into the situation. We just don't know what's going on, really. I mean, it's speculation is speculation, unless we definitively get a statement from the board of directors who say this is why we can't spend this or this is why we haven't spent that. No one really knows at this moment in time. Wasn't necessarily signing for us. Berg Lukic is a good partnership. It is a good partnership, and I think that it's really, really strong. And I wouldn't want to lose that, either of those players. Have we got the worst CEO or DOF combo in football? That's for your opinion that's for you to make your mind up about that, really. Do you think the Khans don't think about the club for long periods of time? It seems like we don't exist for them for the months, then suddenly they're focused again. Look, from my understanding, and for everyone's sort of understanding about how the Khans operate, Shahid Khan is the owner. He's the one who signs off on the deals and puts the money into the club. Tony Khan is partially involved with negotiations when it comes to, and there's plenty of people at the club. There's plenty of people working at the club who work on the transfer deals, including Marco Silva, who probably chimes in with who he would like and sort of targets that we want to identify. I think that essentially Shahid Khan plays no role in transfers whatsoever, apart from going, "Yeah, I'm all good. I'll write that check and we'll get that one done." And like I said, Tony Khan obviously involved in some negotiation as well, but obviously because he's from afar, he's probably on Zoom calls with them and sort of talking to them probably talks to them every day. I'm guessing they talk every day on Zoom or whatever, the phone, and they talk about things. And it's just a case of the people back on the ground, back in England, back in London, trying to get those deals done. And Marco Silva's probably knocking the door saying, "Is it done yet? Are we there yet?" When you're in the car and you're waiting to, arrive at a journey you're looking forward to, and you always like to your parents, "Are you there?" I used to do that as a kid. Yeah, So and the ones who are dealing with the transfers, i.e., as McIntosh, etc., are probably the people saying, "We're nearly there. We're hopefully nearly there," and it's that sort of. I'm guessing that's how it works, really. And it is frustrating I'm guessing it's frustrating for Marco. I mean, he spoke to club media on Wednesday. Now it's Monday. Nothing's changed since then. I really wonder what he's thinking. I really do. That is my one concern. Hence, I want to probe him. I want to start asking some questions. And I'm sure that first press conference against Brighton, whoever's going to be there for Sky, whoever's going to be there for PLP, if the narrative is very similar to what it is right now, there's going to be some fireworks for sure. We have nothing to spend as we are a loss-making company. Therefore, we only have to spend what the Khans want to give. Yeah, but if you're saying that is every single football club is a loss-making company. So I see what you mean, like how much the Khans want to give, but there's also financial restrictions into how much you can spend as a club of Fulham stature. So I agree and sort of disagree with that, but we'll move on. This is a good comment coming from Sneds as well in a little bit. I find it troubling there is increased transfer activity when the Khans are in town, suggests either no competence at the club or a lack of empowerment/trust. You are right. Why Silva? You are right. Why would Silva stay? I know what you mean. I think that there might just be a level of coincidence to that. But also, if it's a running theme, if it's happened a couple of years in a row, then maybe there's something to it. Again, it's a topic that I can't be sure. It's just speculation. Let me get to your comment in a minute, Sneds. How many signings do you think we'll need, and what positions, and how many signings do you think we'll get? I think we need, in order of priority, left-sided midfielder, and then a left-sided / right-sided midfield winger. Sorry, I should say. Excuse me. Centre mid, ideally a 6. So I'd put that above the second winger. So left winger, 6, and then and then third, another winger / right winger, whatever. Striker, 4th, even though it probably should be higher up, given we've only got 2. But you've got a striker, then centre mid, striker, then 6, and then 5th, left back. What do I think we'll get? I think we'll get all of those, apart from maybe a left back at this moment in time. That is the answer to that question. Careful what you wish for. We are a debt-free thanks to the Khans. And that's the other side to it. You know, you look at right now. I mean, as of right now, I don't know what's happened because it's past 5 o'clock. But in terms of Morecambe, in terms of Sheffield Wednesday, they are in the most dire situations you could ever ask for as a football club. And this is not me saying, well, you know, therefore you should be grateful for. I'm saying a level of perspective is needed because you can have owners who completely ruin the club. I mean, absolutely. Peter Whittingham, hold on, Jason Whittingham, excuse me. Jason Whittingham at Morecambe is just refusing to sell the club, and therefore the club dies. Chanseri, the exact same thing. Yeah, where the club might not die as such, but it's in Michael Trublay for sure. We at least have an owner who has a vested interest to the point where he's willing to put money into the club for us to spend, build a brand new stand. I know it's like, well, are they thinking about Fulham? Or are they thinking about their own pockets? Are they thinking about the American audience? Blah, 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 blah. But at least they're helping the club in some way. That being said, we're a Premier League team who needs to make progress, who needs to make signings. I'm not sat here defending them. I'm not sat here glazing them. I'm sort of on the fence. Perspective is needed. We are debt free, and the Khans are to thank for that. We are in a fortunate position where we at least have an owner who does have some level of care. So yeah, but there's arguments on both sides. What do you think is the most realistic, rational, and logical reasons behind our approach in the transfer window? I think we're going for big level talent, and I think they're hard to get over the line. So we're having to look at plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. When is the King pod out? Tomorrow, I believe. It could have been tonight, but I think it might be tomorrow. Yeah. What's the time, Mr. Wolf? 20 to 6. Yeah, I think tomorrow, if that's all right. It's a great one. It's a real fun one. And to sit down with Josh King and talk to him for 13 to 15 minutes was truly fantastic. Something I'm very, very excited about. And hopefully that comes out tomorrow. And I will post it on all my socials, etc., etc. Have you seen any shift in age profile from transfer targets? Some of the rumors we haven't really heard about aren't that concrete. I think there are some slightly younger targets we're going for. Obviously, Chukwueze, I can't remember how old Chukwueze is. Is he something like 25? Sterling's obviously 30. I haven't seen anyone north of 30 apart from Raheem Sterling, unless I'm wrong. There's been a lot of links this summer, but not much in terms of fruition, coming to fruition. Fulham, any chance if making a transfer here? Bloody hell, so frustrating, man. Yeah. Hijack any news. Katsu curry for dinner, mate. Katsu curry, fantastic. There's only so much money a guy can have. Do you think Mitcho would take a wage cut? Look, Mitrovic, as I said earlier, would be so fun, so great. Mitchell's on fire. All that would be fantastic. But it would seriously damage Muniz' situation at the club. And if would you rather have Mitrovic come back and Muniz be like, oh, I'm getting pushed out here. I might flutter my lashes at Leeds or Newcastle or Atalanta, or no Mitrovic, and Muniz signs a new contract and goes on and does fantastic at Fulham? I know the option I would take. We had our Mitrovic years. They were unbelievably fun. They say never go back. Boy, I could have used some of that advice a few years ago. Moving on. I'd imagine Marco is as frustrated as the fan base, if not more potential. He's been deceived. And that's what we're going to find out, you know. We know that Marco Silva can be very vocal. I will reiterate this, yeah. He did a 3.5-minute interview with club media where the questions are quite safe and they're very much like, you know, the game was good, you know, progression and sort of, you know, minutes in the tank. And he's already going, well, we know the chatter. There's no signings. There's no usually preseason for signings. That's just a club media. If I approach him or anyone from Sky, PLP or whatever, any journalist, ask him a question, he will let rip. And I think it's going to be, I'll drive Muniz to Atalanta if it meant we have Muniz on loan for 3 games. That is funny. Any free transfers you think we should jump all over? Dele Alli. Nah, this is tongue in cheek. Dele Alli, I think, would be if he was back to his best. He is unbelievable. I saw him. He was training with like Seth Ridgen and Carl Walker-Peters in the summer. Chuback on his way to medical with Ipswich. That's tough on Birmingham. Not that I have any sympathy. That'll help Jay Stansfield's situation for sure. Yeah, Dele Alli maybe, but that's just a fun one. 1,311 people. Why are there so many? I suppose everyone's sort of just desperate for news, aren't they? I suppose. So maybe going live at this time was a good decision. I'll just keep going. That category can wait. Sorry, Dad. Do you think Muniz is more likely to sign a new deal or leave? Gun to my head, new deal. But that's a tough one. That's a tough one. That's a tough question. Saw Dewsbury Hall on his way to Everton. Are we missing out? Not really, because I think that Josh King coming through, who can play in both positions, will be a top talent for the future. He'll be worth more than what Dewsbury Hall is going for right now. And I think signing him would be stifling his progression. No one can defend Tony, etc. Ali Mack wanted him gone for years. Tony Khan needs to do one. Okay, I don't agree or disagree. I'm just sort of I just would like to spend time talking about other things. Not top of the priority list, but there is a deadline for clubs submitting their kits for the upcoming season. Presumably, we'll be playing in our away kit against Brighton unless we'll play in a training kit. The kits will come, and I do know some stuff, but I can't say. We need wingers, and I would also get a young striker to hopefully replace Raul in coming seasons. Yeah, I think that's obviously. I think Raul's got a couple of years left in him at maximum. I think the striker department, if we can build around Muniz and get a couple more strikers alongside him, that stands us in good stead. Seeing people talk about the Khans lining their pockets with the money we've made from Mitch and Zhao, etc., when they've all done it, when they've done is dump hundreds of millions into the club is hilarious. Yeah, I don't think they're lining their pockets necessarily. I think they are. I think that money should be reinvested. And I think it will be reinvested as any football club would do. Gosh, drinking water right next to the microphone is a horrible sound. The only thing I'd say I'd overly annoys me with this window was the crap said about we'd be planning since January, and that, Sneds, is another thing that I'd like to put to Marco. And I say, look, I know this isn't your fault, but leading up to the end of the season, you said that the board have been planning since January. Have those plans come to any fruition? What's been the hold up in those plans, or have those plans collapsed? Or I would structure it in a different way, but just off the top of my head, that's the sort of thing. Taremi, wait, what? Taremi, no, not for me. Hold on. All right, very funny. Jax Chowdley's been on my case all day. As a percentage, what do you think Starboy King's starting chances are? Saturday reveals a lot, I guess. I think he's got, at this moment in time, about 65% chance of starting against Brighton. Because genuinely, if we have the same squad, let's just say we have the exact same squad we have right now going into Brighton, we will need a replacement for Iwobi after 70 minutes, yeah? Or a replacement for Smith Rowe after 70 minutes, who is playing on the left-hand side. We also have Pereira. We also have King. I would actually, it's hard to say, because I suppose King could come on and really play without fear, and suddenly we could open up and maybe I'd start him, but I can understand why he'd be benched. And I could see pressing from the front, having Pereira in the 10. I think he starts at least one of those games against United, Brighton, or Chelsea. In my opinion. I'd like it to be Brighton. I think he'll start against Frankfurt for sure. Well, not for sure, but I think he could. Do you think the Khans spat the dummy out regarding? I love that saying. Regarding backing Silva in the transfer market, regarding speculation he could be walked to Spurs if they never chose Frank instead. No, I don't think that's the case. I think that the motivating factor for Silva staying I never got a inkling that Silva was staying. As far as I'm aware, and I think people should know this, and I think people already know this. As far as I'm aware, on the last day of the season against Manchester City, in the post-match, not the post-match, I suppose in the post-match he told Talksport he was staying. But I was told that he told the players he's staying. I was told that he told the players he was staying. And all this sort of like Spurs and Juventus or whatever, they're just agent threats. They're agent threats going, well, if you don't back him, here's what he could win. And funny enough, he hasn't been backed, and he's staying. And Juventus have got a new manager, and Al Hilal have a new manager, and Spurs have a new manager. It's not really a laughing matter for sure, because Silva would not find that funny at all that he's not being back. I don't find that funny, but I think the board knew he was staying for quite a while. I don't think there's a case of, oh, we're not going to back you because you wanted to go to another. I just don't believe that was a thing. If anything, if I started, if someone, no, let's do it in football terms. If someone threatened to leave their job to go to another club, let's say in football terms, what would I do as a board member? I would encourage them to be like, well, hold on, we've got a transfer kitty here of X amount of money you can spend. Oh my God, Fabrizio Romano just tweeted something and it said Carney, and for some reason I thought it said Kenny, and I was like, what on earth's going on there? Here's the amount of money. This is what you can reinvest in the squad. This is why you should stay. And that's usually a factor as to why he would stay. But yeah, I understand the comment, but sort of this is why it's probably not a thing. Willian on his way back. Right. If we sign Willian for a fourth time, I'd love to see a live reaction from Mr. Joe Sansom. I want a permanent camera on his face for the 30 minutes after we announce him. Fans just want signings for the sake of signings. Lowell getting upset. We miss shouty players. Do you know what it is? It's, and again, and this is not me sat here defending our business or anything like that, but there is a case of, because of what the transfer window has become, because of Romano, literally, there's no other culprit for it apart from him, is that people get such dopamine rushes from all these transfer bits of news and stuff that, because it's all it is like a drug. It is like a drug, right? When you're this is very okay. When you're addicted to something, i.e., it could be alcohol, it could be nicotine, it could be gambling, it could be anything. You want to get it over and over again to get that dopamine hit, to get that serotonin through your brain, which makes you feel good, which makes you want it again, right? And transfers have now turned into that. I'm not saying that people are addicted to transfers, but I think people are addicted to the feeling of finding out about transfers, right? And I genuinely think that because of the way Romano approaches it, giving us tiny little updates here and there, the whole Isak level thing is such a joke. He tweets the same thing about it every single day, every single hour. But for Liverpool fans, it's a complete dopamine hit, even though there's no real update, right? And I can't sit here and say that if Romano was to tweet right now regarding Fulham with a Numa or a deal being close, I would get a dopamine hit and you would get a dopamine hit or whatever. Not like you said, but people watching, you know? And the reason why people now get so angry about lack of transfers, I get I get the business side of things, not progressing and standing still, etc., etc. But it's also a case of, I need that dopamine hit. I need that sort of fix of, here we go, or medical. I do the same. I text my friends all the time saying, we need it, we need this, we need that. And this is not about Joe Sansom. This is about the wider that is a horrible. This is about a wider issue within football on social media, where people are so desperate, even with the club, they put their club notification tweets on, which I do, of course. Anyone does. I'm not saying I'm not part of this. I'm very much within this sphere, right? And people have their tweet notifications on for their clubs. As soon as they tweet, they instantly comment below, where is this player? Where is the kit? Where is that? Where is that? Because they want the hit of the dopamine, right? And it's like, it's like going out on Saturday night and going for a beer. I'm going for another beer. And then that beer might lead to something else. Or that beer might lead to a vape. Or that beer might lead to something, it's all about this sort of culture that we live in right now, where we need instant hits of dopamine instantly. That being said, we still need to make signings, of course. But I think the thing that people want the most is that Ornstein or that Romano going, here we go, it's on. I can't tell you the level of feeling when we found out we were signing Ryan Sessegnon or Yauki Manderson or Jorge Cuenca, out of the blue. Mitrovic, all the way back in the day. Has Romano ruined the transfer window? I mean, what was it the other day? Luke de Jong coming out for Porto and signing when no one had even known he was signing. That's what you want. And it's this sort of society we live in where people need quick fixes and hits of anything, substances. I think it's very interesting how transfers sort of relate to that. And going back to the original point, fans just want signings for the sake of signings. I do believe, let's say you had the most perfect squad in the whole world that had no outgoings and no incomings, right? No outgoings, no incomings. And you go into the next season. Let's just say you're a team in the Championship who has kept their squad together and everything's going well. There will be still fans who demand signings because, I probably will be down later, Luke. Okay. All right. Because there are fans, because they want that dopamine hit of the signings, right? So if you're like Leicester, who a few summers ago went through a whole summer without signing a player, they ended up getting relegated. Okay, fair enough. They should have signed. But if you're a club that doesn't need to sign any players, the fans are still going to like, what are we doing? What are we doing? There's no business being done. Well, actually, do you actually need the business? Fulham do need to do business. This is just a point. My point being, if a club didn't need to do business. And my final point on this is our last dopamine hit was when we signed Nelson on deadline day. That's almost a year ago because Willian was Willian. And that's why Fulham fans, like many other fan bases around the country, feel this way because they haven't had that dopamine hit for a year. I literally was talking to Sanson about this the other day. Our last dopamine hit, I keep saying dopamine hit, our last signing, our last here we go, our last he's on his way, his medical, was genuinely Nelson on deadline day because Willian's already been in before. It wasn't that much of a deal. And that was a very long-winded point to make on one comment, but I think it's worth talking about. It's definitely worth talking about. The Stansford episode of the Brum doc is amazing. I had a tearjerker, but it's very weird. They paint it like he's never back to Exeter since his dad played there. I haven't watched the Birmingham documentary. I don't really intend on watching it because I think it's going to be a complete love-in. And I didn't even watch the Wrexham one. That sort of thing. Actually, the Spurs one was good. The Arsenal one was okay. And effectively, I would be more interested in lower league ones as well. But Birmingham, I just can't be bothered. I just can't be bothered for it. Read the message out if the leak green. Moving on. Foda Valatori is on a free, yay or nay? Yay. Jack, if you're a real one, you'll go to the AEW event and interview Tony, maybe dress as the Undertaker to sell it more. I have no interest in wrestling, but I do have an interest in talking to Tony Khan for sure. Jack, get an interview with Tony sorted. I would love that. That would be fantastic. I fear for Marco. He must be seething behind the scenes. Saturday press will be interesting. Wonder if he promised new players or lied to. Well, the last time this happened was Villarreal at home, 1-1 draw just before the start of the Premier League season we got promoted into. So before the Liverpool game, he did moan after the game. He said, we're not ready for the Premier League season. I then left the ground on my way home, was on the bus. We've been linked with 4 centre-backs. 4. Yeah. So I guarantee you there's going to be rumours in the next, well, saying 10 days is quite easy to say. I think there'll be some this week for sure. Is there a fan base that writes as much fan fiction about their manager being constantly enraged and quitting every week? I mean, I've seen like one Marco might walk sort of situation, like someone say that today. Okay, it's 6:00. I need to probably Kingsley go, man, at some point. Just I'll get through all the comments and then we'll probably wrap up. This has been really fun, by the way. Just been linked with loans. Wonder if we are trouble in regards to PSR. Yeah, mate, do not mention PSR. I don't know. I don't know anything. I missed the shock transfers. De Jong to Porto was so good. Absolutely. I was just saying about that. That's fantastic. If we sign 0 players in the window, where do you think we'll finish in the table? Probably like 15th, 14th, maybe. I still think we're good enough to stay up. I just don't think we're good enough to push on further up. How can you have a DOF living in another country for probably the most important part of the transfer window? DFF is a hands-on job. And I'm sure he's on the phone to the board every day, but so far it hasn't equated to signings. So just a couple more comments here then. Not a dopamine hit I crave for just an appreciation we have key positions to strengthen and a manager who needs to see ambition. Let me read that again. Not a dopamine hit I crave for just an appreciation we have key positions to strengthen and a manager who needs to see ambition. Okay, I understand that. Let me see this. Understand the logic, but poor end of the season due to lack of signings, and we'll still have the same issues. Yeah, look, I believe that the end of the season when we lost 6 of the last 9 games was incredibly alarming, right? And that's why we didn't get into Europe. And what's going to get us into Europe? A better caliber of players, a bit more luck on the pitch, and essentially, so far, we have no proof as to us. Like the target was and is to finish on more points than we had last season, which might ultimately end up us getting into Europe. And so far, Marco's promise or ambition for next season is not being backed up by those above him with the signings. Guys, I think I'm going to leave it there. 1,580 people at least clicked on this live stream. That is mental. For a Monday at 6, well, it's now 6 o'clock. Thank you so much for watching. We've gone for almost an hour, and it's been an interesting discussion. Thanks for everyone who commented. I must plug Patreon at the moment, and I'm still trying to change it, but you can take advantage of it as someone did last night. £4.50 per month. You get daily. No, I just need to stop saying that. It's not daily Fulham content anymore, but it is much higher end quality content, and there might be an interview with Josh King on their way as well, and maybe some more stuff to come before the season starts as well. We will see. Subscribe to Patreon. Bro just spouted philosophical wisdom about being asked about. I think it all relates. I think it all relates in the industry, in the society. Sorry, we're in right now. It definitely all relates to. I mean, if you're who's signed like loads of players this summer. Sunderland. God, if you're a Sunderland fan right now, you must be. And that's the thing. Like back in 2018, when we signed all those players, my word, the hits of like serotonin and dopamine was off the scales. If you're someone who doesn't get a dopamine hit from a signing, listen, fair play. It's very much a Gen Z sort of thing, isn't it? But yeah. And look, do I get a buzz off tweeting some news? Absolutely. I think it's fun. I think it's great. I like seeing all everyone getting excited about it. I think that's fun. Do I hope I have something to tweet about in the next few days? Absolutely. Do I think I will? We'll see. We'll see. So keep that tweet notification on. Subscribe to Patreon where you get the news as well. And a lot more content as well. £4.50 right now. I need to change it to £5. I don't know how, but I'm going to be calling up Patreon tomorrow demanding to raise it back to the £5. €5, $5.50. We're almost two members away, 150. And that's a big old target I want to hit before the beginning of the season. Can we do it? As Bob the Builder asks, I think yes, we can. Just need some help from Scoop Muck and Dizzy. All right, let's call it a day. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. Take care, guys, and we'll stream soon. Hopefully, there's a bloody bomber to talk about. Let's go. Come on, Fulham.